Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
All right, guys, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. Today I'm excited. I got my Mona, my brother over here. What's up, Sally Babes? How you doing?
Appreciate you having me, man.
Good
It's been
to
a while.
have you. It's been too long.
It's been a while.
Jeez Louise, I think it's so in Asbury days, you were in the office all the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
We were crushing the podcast together.
We were doing podcasts in Red Bank.
And Red Bank, that's right, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh yeah,
Wow.
dude, yeah, it was like one of my first podcasts back in the day with you.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So having Sal on is always obviously a beautiful thing. Obviously the one thing that we kick off, so for people here who do not know Sal, he's a major real estate broker, has a big team that's growing. One of the things that's super cool though is being able to see you grow professionally, personally, but definitely in scaling your team.
Sure.
From obviously the Latip days to and you standing up and be like, nothing's happening, nobody's giving any leads, to you'd be like, damn, I like this guy. And doing that event together, and boom, fast forward, now it's been, geez Louise, bro,
Going
like
on 10
over,
years.
almost a decade, which is really cool, man.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in the real estate sector watch, and listen into Breaking Barriers. So it's obviously always good, and a lot of times we'll get people reaching out asking about different things. So for people though who are like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know who Sal is. High level, give them a little bit about, who you are, what you do.
Sure. I'm the best real estate agent in the world.
Boom!
Maybe not the world, but New Jersey for sure. Mm-hmm. No, I've been in the business for 11 years. I became a real estate agent on accident, always just an entrepreneur, stumbled into it, got addicted to the business. Was a solo agent for the first 5 or 6 years at the peak of my individual career, selling like 75 homes a year on my own. Decided to start a team. Fast forward another 5 or 6 years, and now we have about 25 agents and full-time staff. And we were just ranked the number 4 small team in New Jersey by Real Trends and Wall Street Journal.
Congrats, bro.
Thanks, man.
So that's the perfect opportunity for us to take a shot on that.
Let's do it. Yeah,
we're gonna
absolutely.
celebrate that, man,
Absolutely.
and Sal and the Ventre Team success.
Yeah.
What would you say has been an integral part of you professionally growing over the past, let's just say 10 years since I've known you?
Yeah, not giving up.
Okay. Because I do remember there was some times where you said like, yo, shit was tough when you were bunking with Walsh and shit. And so first, cheers to the success.
Yes, thank you.
Then we'll revert back to the stories, the war
Cheers
stories.
to the commodity. This stuff is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you 2 bottles to bring home.
Awesome, sweet.
Anyway,
yes. So my first 3 years in the business, I struggled like everybody else, like most people do in their first couple of years of real estate. I think there's this perception that you watch the TV shows and things, and it just looks so easy. It's like anyone can do that.
Well, it looks sexy. It's like, oh, you got the nice car, the suits.
Yeah, and it just seems like there's not a whole lot that goes into it. But it actually is. It's difficult. We actually have one of the highest failure rates out of any industry. I think it's like 80 or 90% of people that get their license don't have it by year 2 or 3. So it's a very difficult business to last in. I was fortunate enough that when I got my license, I was a young single guy. So I know a lot of agents now that have it harder than me because they have families and lives and things that they have to sustain and pay bills. And even as a young single guy with like just an apartment that I was splitting with a buddy, it was hard at times because it's 100% commission. Deals fall apart and die sometimes, and so for my first 3 years, it was a struggle. It was a very big roller coaster ride. There were some months where, it was amazing and I felt like I was on top of the world. And, and then there were other months where literally I made $0. You know what I mean? And so it was a struggle. But fortunately, being able to stick it out was what ultimately helped me. And then my fourth year, like a lot of other real estate agents, my business skyrocketed. So I think that's a big thing. And I'm also the type of person that I just say yes to everything. And I think that's a big thing. I'm constantly putting myself out there. I'm not afraid of being, in the public eye, so to speak, right? Like for better or for worse, I think being a real estate agent is a lot like a popularity contest.
Yeah.
The more people that know you and the more you put yourself out there, the more business you're going to do.
Correct.
There's a lot of people that aren't comfortable doing that.
And that's a really big blind spot. And limiting belief
for
for anybody in business, I think, to not want to do it. Because listen, a lot of business owners, they don't want people to know their personal life.
Yeah.
And which is why they exclude themselves from social or from whatever. But so one of the things I do want to just say real quick. So for a lot of times, I'll never forget this. One of my clients in the past it's a big vendor for real estate agents was like, John, the toughest part about agents is a lot of times there are people who don't have any business experience,
Sure.
but jump into it like trying to think that they know how to run a business.
Absolutely.
And they don't run a business. They just try to go out there and look cool and whatever. But the interesting part about any sales position, right? Because real estate sales.
Sure, absolutely.
You're a sales.
100%.
And you have to sell yourself, obviously. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges because how many people that go on and get their license go inactive because they're just, whether a stay-at-home mom or, it's somebody who just were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, left school, did it for a little bit, didn't ride the wave, and then boom, just stopped doing it. But yeah, so anyway, so off that note, so right now, who inspires you right now, right? In your own development, right? Is there a book, audio book person, like who out there in the world today?
If we're talking like today, Ed Milet.
In this moment, Ed Milet.
Ed Milet, I'm very big into Ed Milet right now. I just like the overall cool, calm, and collectiveness that he brings to the table at all times.
Right.
I'm almost finished with his book, A Power of One More. I don't know if you're familiar.
I have, no.
Just released it like a week ago. It's absolutely incredible.
Right.
Highly recommend. I actually bought like 5 copies, so I'll give you one.
Oh, good.
But yeah, he's a guy that I'm very on right now because, and I will say specifically in this moment, like only because I do feel like yourself and a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, I have a lot going on right now in a lot of different areas of my life, both personally and professionally.
Right.
And so, and I've also been in this business and just in business in general for over a decade, for a very long time. And so I feel like I've established a lot of like the groundwork, the foundation that a lot of motivational speakers and people, will kind of preach, where Ed is more or less like getting into that mindset of overall just like kindness, faith,
Right.
being good intentioned,
Right.
Like just being a really good person.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I'm at, like in my life is like I've got like the foundation of business.
Yep.
But now I want to take it to the next level, like personally and mentally.
Yep.
And really just scale. That's where I'm at right now.
Scale.
I really want to scale to a level that most would say is unattainable.
Right. I love that. So Milet, I like that. Milet's a great dude. Definitely people who want to check that out. I think Ed is definitely, he's just a thought leader, right?
He really is, yeah.
He's such a thought leader. I think every time I see one of his posts, I'm like, damn, I love the way that he's looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
What has been a big area of you? So when it comes to scaling, right? Like
Yeah.
the good part is that, what you're doing, you're in real estate running it like a business.
Yep.
Where most people run it like it's a sales job.
That's why I started the team.
Right. So so obviously you want to scale. What are you doing to scale right now?
And so I'm doing a lot of, so I'm trying to scale by introducing new parts and aspects to my business. And because I feel like as just a real estate broker,
Yep.
it will be almost impossible to scale to the level that I want
Right.
to. And so I have to introduce like other businesses and other things. But I also like the philosophy of, if I am going to introduce other businesses or start other things, I don't want it to be in a completely different sector
Right.
than what I'm doing. And so right now I'm in the process with my team of, and when I say team, like other team, not my agents, team of staff that helps me putting together more of like a platform that we can scale. And basically this platform is going to be geared towards real estate agents, of course, because that's what I do.
Right.
But business owners and just the everyday human being. A big thing that I'm passionate about is trying to be the best version of yourself, right?
Right.
And so like down to, your diet, your fitness, your health, your work, all of that. So that's kind of what this is going to revolve around, is just becoming like the elite version of yourself. So I'm going to try to take that and scale a little bit. And I just got a really cool listing that I think will help put me in a new category.
Yeah, it's going to be next level.
New level of brokers out there. So I'm just excited to see what happens in the future.
I love it. So what are you doing for your own like personal development though? Like do you have like some sort of like programs you follow, just reading books?
Yeah, the books are the big thing for me. Books, podcasts, YouTube videos, that type of stuff. like you said earlier, finding a few people that are kind of like my imaginary mentors.
Yep.
You know, like
Yep.
I don't know Ed Milet. Hopefully, maybe I can meet him one day. But you know,
Sell
like,
his house.
yeah, like people like that. You know, trying to like kind of utilize as like a mentor, so to speak. And that's really it, man. I'm just trying to like most people. I think most people know what they should be doing or what they need to do to be the best version of themselves. They just don't do it. Right. So I'm just working.
Lazy.
I'm just working on taking action.
I love that action. And you know what? A lot of times when you hear people say knowledge is power, right? It's execution of that knowledge,
100%.
right? And I think a lot of times people bypass that. They're just like, oh, knowledge,
100%.
knowledge. But I know so many people who are smart as hell, intelligent people, have great ideas, but they just never execute.
Absolutely.
And so I love that.
For me right now, not a struggle, but something that I'm facing, that I'm tackling, and I'm sure you have as well. I'm trying to explain to almost everyone in my life, like where my head is at, because when you try to tell people that you want to scale to a level that like most people
dream of, or think
they don't take you
impossible.
serious,
right?
You know? They don't take you serious.
They put their unexpressed doubts that they have on you.
Right. So I'm trying to like kind of just I don't know the right word to use, but like kind of just prepare everyone. Like, hey, look, I'm going to be making some changes personally.
Yeah.
All for the benefit of everyone else, because I want to chase this thing that like most people think is like not even possible or real, but that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, I heard someone say something a while ago and I kind of was confused by it, but now I get it. And they were like, you know, I was doing all this stuff professionally and I had this business, but I still felt like something's missing. I still felt like almost depressed, right? Like I don't have depression or anything like that, but what was missing in that person's situation was they weren't doing enough. And that's kind of how I feel. Even though I go a mile a minute and I have all these things going, often at the end of the day, I'm like, shit, I'm not doing enough.
I could be doing more.
I should be doing more.
Right.
So, but that's hard for a lot of people to understand. You know?
Especially when they see you being busy.
Exactly.
Like I feel that way. Like and I think that when you're ambitious enough to always want more. I forget when one of the podcasts I had you on, you quoted, I don't know if it was a Sally V original, but you were like, you know, how much is enough? You're like, you know, there's never enough. I forget what you said, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's well, one of the things that I'm really trying to work on, and it's fun. You said like, who's a person that's inspiring me right now? This is another person. Believe it or not, when I say this name, everyone's like, that guy?
Yeah.
Rob Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek. Okay, he's inspirational.
Brilliant.
And he's a move maker.
Brilliant entrepreneur. If you
I don't think most people know that.
Most people do not know that.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to Rob Dyrdek, he has a podcast that is strictly about business and mindset and everything else. That guy is so impressive.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he does that I'm trying to work on with myself is he basically automates everything in his life to be as efficient as it possibly can. Like down to the like every single morning his wife gets an email with his entire schedule with like a blank spot that he has to go in and put like his own personal love quote. You know what I mean? Like he has meals, every meal's delivered to him at a specific time.
Right.
There's not a single wasted second in that guy's life. But that also, because like a lot of people hear that and they're like, well, that sounds miserable.
Yeah, like what the hell?
But that allows him to have a ton of time to spend with his family and everything else. You know, so I'm trying to get better on that stuff.
Dude, I had a client who, he's still a client. I have a client who literally, I never forget this. I've been working with him now for almost 5 years. He was probably at the time and probably close to today, probably still one of my most wealthiest clients. And the first time I went to his mansion, I walked in, whatever, and I was giving him all the fucking, like, you know, all the stops, because I was still like pitching. I was like pitching, right?
Yeah.
And I met 3 cleaning ladies. When I walked in, he was so nice. He introduced me to the staff. Yeah. And I'm meeting all these people, and he's like, I have 3 cleaning ladies and I have 2 cooks. And we sat down. I'm like, why don't you just have 1 cook? Or what? He's like, because when that one needs a break, I don't want to have to go find somebody else. Sure. He goes, so I have them in shifts. And while he's talking, again, this is 5 years ago, I'm like gushing. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's got 10 cleaning ladies. He's got everything. And I'm like, this is crazy. And he's like, John, he goes, when you really attain the success that you want and you build the wealth you want, he goes, you start to realize that time is the biggest asset. So when I'm not thinking about my laundry, or if I'm not thinking about my food, or if I'm not thinking about my car being washed and filled up, he's like, then I'm thinking about things that matter to me.
Correct.
And so back to that whole thing, that's what just reminded me of.
Yep.
Where to the normal person, the average Joe or Jane, they're gonna see that and think, yeah, well, why Sal or John, like that, they're too materialistic. They care about the wrong things.
Correct.
Like, it doesn't matter. Just do this, that, whatever.
But it's actually the complete opposite.
Correct.
We're doing that so that we can spend
do those
genuine
things,
time with
right.
your family and
Right.
stuff. Exactly.
So I think, again, and when you're operating a business too, like I look at it like, one of my old buddies who bust my chops living on my first house, he was like, dude, he's like, you don't mow your own fucking lawn. There's like, real men mow their own lawns and take care of this and that. And I was like, that's one way to think of it.
Sure.
I was like, listen, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I'm like, but if I'm gonna pay somebody $60 to go do this, and I can take a call that's gonna lead to potentially thousands and thousands of dollars, or spend time with my wife and family, or whatever I need to do, then I'm gonna take the latter all day. But it's mindset shifts, right? And honestly, there's paradigm shifts. So one of the things I want to say, I don't know if you've ever read this, but this is the book that I'm reading right now.
Speaking of scaling.
I took the course on this too. Vern is a fucking savage. I'm gonna offline we can talk about this, but they have actually a group, and it's like 15 or 20K, and you go and you're at this retreat with like multi successful people, and long story short, it's people who have scaled massive businesses. Got it. And this guy has done it. Like, anyway, so I'm reading this right now.
Love it. I'm definitely going to read that.
Anybody who hasn't, it's called Scaling Up. I've read this book a couple of times, and I'm going back into it now. And it just teaches you, again, it's about people, strategy, execution, and your cash.
Love it.
And it's such a good thing. But going back to mindsets, there's also a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Yes, I know
by Stephen Covey.
Yep.
And he talks about paradigm shifts, right? Where, like, for instance, like if I was in a scenario where people are talking and they're saying, I don't agree with Sal's mindset, or John, you're a pussy because you don't do your own fucking lawn, right? Okay, right? And I probably before I read that book, I would have been like, fuck you, like, I would have went back at him and be like,
sure.
No, you're a bitch because you're not paying somebody to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. So back and forth. And then I started reading this book, and it's one of the chapters is about paradigm mindset shifting, right? And so it's where people who approach you on things that you think are like, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Like, but it's like shifting your perspective to just say, well, what are they actually? Maybe they have some validity.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
So he talks about the example that blew up his brain with this was he was on a train in New York getting back from a conference, and this guy was in there with his 2 kids, and they were running around, screaming, causing all this chaos, and everybody in the train was getting annoyed. Sure. This guy's just sitting here not doing nothing, and his kids are just acting a fool, right? So he's like, eventually, in his head, he goes, if they do one more thing, I'm going to flip out on this guy. Yeah. So they do one more thing, and he goes, sir, can you please mind your children? They're disturbing the whole train. Yeah. And he said, the guy looked up and said, I'm so sorry, we just left my wife's funeral, and this is the first time I've seen them happy, so I'm just letting them be happy. And he's like, in a normal scenario. Damn. Right? Yeah. So in a normal scenario, we never know what somebody else is thinking, going through, what their fucking life is happening. 100%. So I'm looking at the children, I'm thinking about that, but literally it's like that. It's like the dude that said that to me about my landscaping. Like, it's every scenario leads to somebody else's thoughts or whatever. So, but paradigm shift thinking is that. Like, it's like, and he said to me, he goes, in that moment, I was like so devastated that I opened my mouth. Of course. I should have thought differently. I should have said, their kids running around having fun. Why should I care? Right. As opposed to getting pissed off or whatever. Yep. No, that's powerful. So when people, the only thing I want to say on that topic though, it's really shifted my thinking for people where if I'm going to get pissed off in a moment, or if I'm going to get activated in a moment for whatever reason, it's like thinking about it and actually weighing out, is it worth saying something? Right. In those situations, or how to say something, right? Oh, you guys are having fun. What are you guys celebrating or whatever? I don't know. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I want to talk to you now about something that I'm coming into, which is fatherhood. Yes. So congratulations. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. So I'm coming into fatherhood, which obviously you guys have been a part of our journey. Sure. It's taken us a little while, and you and your wife Lauren are both entrepreneurs, and now you're raising Big Sal. Yeah, exactly. Little Sal. So what type of advice would you give somebody like myself? and people listening in that are like, boom, high performance junkies. Obviously, Jacqueline's a part of the business too, so she's working, she's making moves like you and Lauren. So, what advice do you have in terms of the first?
Something I got from Ed Milet.
Okay, hit me.
Be where your feet are.
Mm.
When you're at work, be at work.
Right.
When you're home, be home.
Mm.
And that's something that my wife and I both struggle with and work towards. But if you try to be dad and business owner and everything else at home, all of them are going to suffer and lack.
Right.
So that's one thing that I would recommend is try to, when you're home with your child, at least for an hour or two, be really present in the moment. Because time, and this is like the most cliche thing you're ever going to hear, but the time goes by so quick.
So quickly, right.
You know, like my son is not a baby anymore. He'll never be a baby anymore.
Right, it's done.
It's gone, it's over.
Right.
So anything that I may have missed, I can never get back.
Right.
You know, and I see him and I see how much he grows every single day, and that's what really like forces me, or I try to really like be in the moment as much as possible. And that's my biggest advice, man, because there's so many parents that are so scattered, and when they are with their kid, they're on their phone, they're doing this, they're doing that, which of course, you know, there's times that I'm on my phone and stuff too, but be where your feet are, man. Just be in the moment, be present. That's my biggest piece of advice. Everything else, you're going to figure it out.
Right.
No one, you know what I mean? You figure it out. It gets easier and easier every single day, but you can't get a single day back. And they grow so much, they change so much. You gotta enjoy it, man.
Gotta be there.
That's why also too, like my goals have changed since I had my son. You know, I used to glamorize like hustling and grinding 7 days a week, 24/7. I don't anymore.
I think it's a part of the early stages of entrepreneurship.
Sure, of course.
And I think you have to in the early phases.
Of course.
Because I did too.
100%.
I have a shirt that says hustle on it.
Right. No, of course. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But I think, you know, and also this is something that Rob Dyrdek talks about a lot. He's like, you know, we've glamorized the hustle grind thing for so much, but like in reality, no one starts a business or you know, becomes an entrepreneur to work 24/7.
Right.
You do it so that eventually you can have freedom and not work and go crazy until, you know what I mean? So remembering that is a big thing.
I love that. I was golfing the other day, and I had one of the guys at Monmouth University who was there with us. I was like, that's my new thing right now. I'm asking everybody, what's your advice? And this guy goes, like, for your kids, he's like, the only thing I can tell you is, you know, when you sit there and you're on your phone with your kids, you're going to look up one day, they're going to be 3. Yeah. And he's like, that's the only thing I can tell you. He's like, 'cause the whole time we were golfing, I'm like this, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, the only thing I can tell you is when you have that kid, or when you have your kids, exactly what you said, you're not getting that time back, and they're growing like weeds, and you look up and you're like, damn. And he's like, just being present. I think so far that's been the advice that I've gotten.
100%.
Be present. What do you want? Like when as little Sal gets older, what do you want like his thoughts of you and your legacy to be? Like if you could summarize it. Like if he's out with his friends from college and they're like, you know, they're talking about their parents and he starts talking about you, what do you want him to say in a room?
I would want him to say my dad's my best friend. I could talk to him about anything. And he would do anything for our family.
I love that. All in.
That's it.
He's all in. I love it. And he crashes a couple boats.
That's it. Yeah. You know, we like to have fun.
That's it.
But no, that's something that I want to have that like best friend relationship with my son. I want him to be able to talk to me about anything, come to me for anything, not, you know what I mean? And know that no matter what happens, no matter how much shit hits the fan, I got him. I got his back.
No matter what.
No matter what.
I love that. So what's next for you, and where do you think so right now with the real estate market, obviously, you know, it was super hot. Now it's like, do you think it's kind of
still going.
It's still going. But do you think it's getting a little bit more realistic now?
Yeah, things are stabilizing, which is what we need.
Yeah.
We need it for a long time. And that's why rates are going up in an effort to slow down price increases and price appreciation so that things do stabilize and we have a healthy supply and demand. Supply and demand has been so out of whack for the last 2 years. There's been so little supply and so much demand. which is why they couldn't control price inflation.
Right.
So they're trying to do that by raising interest rates. What I'm seeing firsthand in the business, and maybe it's just a lagging effect, but what I'm seeing is maybe just a few less offers on properties.
Right.
Prices, maybe homes aren't going. I mean, I was seeing, it wasn't uncommon to see a house sell $50,000 to $100,000 above the asking price.
Right.
We're not seeing that so much anymore, but we're still seeing multiple offers, full price, yes, there are a few, because one thing that everyone needs to remember is there's no rules when you set a listing price for your house. I can ask $27 million for my house if I wanted to.
Right.
So you still have some sellers that are so out of whack and have these pipe dreams about prices, and those homes are sitting. But anything that's priced appropriately is still moving. We're not really seeing a big decrease.
Like people are not just not buying, but it's
no.
just
If anything, they've adjusted their price points because interest rates have gone up. So instead of buying, looking at the $800,000 house, maybe they're looking at $700,000.
Okay.
So
what? So here's the. So I have two more things before we wrap up here. So one question I have for a lot of people that we keep getting questions on or whatever is like, so the whole theory throughout this pandemic pop, right, with real estate, that I've been hearing people like, well, if I sell my house at this premium, then I'm gonna go buy at a premium, and I'm gonna wait till the market dies down, and then I'm gonna go buy something. Do you think that is relative to the times that we're living in? Like, do you think like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a crash?
That's just an uneducational perspective.
Right.
There's not gonna be a crash because there's not a bubble. It's not what happened in real estate in 05, 06. We actually just had a lender at our office today speaking all about this topic.
Yeah.
And in 2004, 2005, 2006, we had this real estate bubble of inflated prices because they were writing, I don't want to use the word phony, but they were
it phony money.
Yeah, they were giving loans to people that didn't deserve those loans.
Okay.
They could never have qualified.
Correct.
Everything now is very stringent. They're very, very strict on the mortgage approval process. So no one's getting loans that they can't prove that they can afford.
Right.
And so what everyone is and when I say everyone, I mean financial experts, people in this field, not just like Joe from around the corner, you know what I mean? But financial experts that do this for a living are predicting prices to stabilize, not, we were seeing 20% increases in most markets year over year. 20% is absurd for a house to increase in 1 year.
Right.
So we may not see that. We may see like 0% or 1% or 2%. Prices are going to stay stable. But what they are projecting is that there will be less homes sold. So because sellers are still skeptical about selling and buying high, or selling and then buying something at a higher interest rate than they currently have, you're still going to see, we're not expecting to see a big increase in homes for sale in inventory, and with that, less buyers because of interest rates. So in general, home sales, the numbers of total home sales is probably going to shrink. It's already starting to. But home prices, if anything, are kind of going to stabilize. In my opinion, and in most people's opinion, you're now seeing the new home price floor. Right?
So that's a good way. I like that. This is the new floor now.
I think so. If anything, you're going to see a couple percent decrease just because of lack of demand, not as much demand. But by no means is anyone predicting prices to just crash and fall to the bottom.
Thank you for that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. One of what the lender said today, which I love, is people, at the end of the day, most people move because they have to, whether it's a life-changing situation, they want to upsize, they want to downsize, they are moving out of state for a job relocation, whatever the case is. A lot of times there's a reason or a motive behind moving.
Right.
Those people are still going to do it. It's just gonna be a little bit different. I think that we're going to see prices stabilize, maybe decrease for the next year or two, and then pick back up. But one thing that the lender talked about, and he said this quote, and I love it: marry the house, date the rate. What he means by that is most people are in a home.
That's a fire quote. We're going to have to, Nicole, you're going to have to throw this on the screen.
Marry the house, date the rate. Meaning, if you find a home that you absolutely love and your family has to move and everything else, you're probably going to stay in that, unless you're planning to flip it or you're like John and I and you move every couple years. Most people stay in their home 7, 10, 15, 20 years, but they refinance their loan 3 times every 10 years.
Wow.
So, and little side note, Financial experts are predicting rates to drop in November. Right now, legally speaking, we're officially in a recession. However, they're expecting rates to drop in November to kind of make up for things. So what a lot of people are doing now is saying, hey, let me lock in at 5.5, 5.8 because I love the house. And then as soon as rates drop, I'll just refinance and get that rate a little bit lower.
Correct.
So
I love that fucking quote. Shout out to the mortgage guy.
yeah, man, marry the house, date the rate.
Who's the mortgage guy? Let's give him a shout out for that one.
Brian Homowitz.
Yeah, you're always pumping that guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy. Brian, that's fire. I love that. I don't know where you got it, but that's fucking fire. Last thing. So now we're gonna so a lot of times in life, you know, we're looking at perspective of obviously legacy and stuff. You mentioned with Sal.
Sure.
You know, so with the people on your team. So I'm gonna change this up a little bit. I'm not gonna ask you the same thing I always ask everybody else.
Okay.
Do you know what I normally ask everybody?
My favorite quote?
No. It's not the quote. Okay,
Got
so
it.
I changed it up. So we always look at legacy, you know, what we're trying to do, and current to future.
Sure.
And a lot of times, nobody looks back retrospective, like, okay, you know, let's reverse engineer this. If I want to be this person, what do I have to do to get back to that point, right? So I was thinking about it backwards. So I did this one exercise, you know, with this one teacher back in high school, my history teacher, and it broke my brain. So lately I've been asking people this, and we've gotten some interesting feedback from it, from the guests, and good reactions. But so looking at life in reverse, obviously you have your team, your business, you have a kid,
Sure.
You have a wife, your family's all around you. Looking back in retrospect, so what would your grave plot say if you were to write it today, right? But you're looking back, right? So at this point, you might have a couple kids,
Sure.
A couple different venture, whatever. You get the whole thing going. Whoever you're supposed to be, right, that you're planning for. What does that look like, right? And the typical writing tongue is like loving father, but made people's lives easy, whatever. Like, so if you were to write that today, right now, for the man that you want to become,
Oh my gosh.
because this is the one thing that supersedes you being on this planet for thousands of years. Your future ancestors can go look at this thing, right? What would that say? And again, this is rough, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect. But in this moment where these feet stand today, what would that be?
Well, I don't know how to properly word great tombstones.
And you don't have to.
But I would just wanted to say that obviously, loving family man, but that I changed a lot of lives. And that, and again, this is something that from my Let's new book, but and I think you'll love this. I'm trying to be the one in my family, right? Mm-hmm. So Ed talks about in ultra successful families, right? They weren't always that way typically. Usually there's one person that comes around that changes the dynamic and the legacy and the future of that family name forever.
Right.
I want to be the one for my family.
Yeah.
I want to be the one that changed the course of my family. And when I say my family, it's not just my wife and my son and future children.
Cousins.
My brother, my sister, my cousins. I want to change the entire legacy of the Ventre name and beyond. And that's it. I want to be the one in my family.
Boom. Dude, let's go. I love that. That is literally amazing. And I think that it's not a question that you're going to do that. So it's really cool to hear that. And I appreciate you participating in that exercise because it's difficult.
It is, yeah.
And the last two people we had on, we had a super successful interior design and furniture company CEO, and then also the hedge fund CEO and founder in Miami. They both cried.
I saw that.
They both cried when I asked that question because I went a little deeper on them. I'm gonna let you live on this, but I went a little deeper on them, and they got really to it. And they was like, "Damn," because the one dude has kids, the other guy's just super passionate, want to help everybody around him. But listen, man, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Time is the one asset
fun.
we don't get back, so you spending it here, and the people. So for anyone out there that's watching that doesn't know who you are, where can they find you? Where can they engage with you?
You can find me on all social medias, just at Sal Ventre. Super easy. TikTok heavy right now. Go follow me on TikTok and YouTube.
Like that.
Yeah.
And then website, everything.
SalVentre.com. Everything's just Sal.
Just Sal Ventre.
That's it.
Just get after it, Sal Ventre. Sal, Mona, me, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Awesome.